everybody. It is Frolicking Chronicles. I'm Tamantha and my twin sister, and we are ready to discuss a subject that we have been, oh my gosh, just enthralled with, whether it was streaming, whether it was in IMAX, whether it was being shown at the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures. We are talking about Jaws. Jaws, the movie, based on the book and all the things that makes it such a fun. We know we're getting into spring, but a summer July 4th type
Bill.
of
hmm
film, right?
Celebration.
Celebration. So Jaws, released in 1975, directed by Steven Spielberg, starring Robert Shaw. But there were some things that happened behind the scenes. But one thing that I did find out is that it was based on Peter Benchley's book that was published in 1974. So that was really a quick turnaround from book to movie, which today does not quite happen in that quickly.
Not at all. I mean, and it's just really fascinating to watch the documentary and even just, do a YouTube search and like listen to Richard Dreyfuss and listen to Steven Spielberg talk about all the things and for our horror fans out there, it's still maintained one of the best jump scares. There's like certain scenes absolutely worth the watch. Tamantha had actually coordinated us to go see Jaws in IMAX last August. So that kind of tells you guys how long we've been like wanting to do this
We've been wanting to
episode.
do this for so long. I mean, it is the perfect thriller that became an immediate success. And for those of you who, when you hear the word blockbuster, and maybe you remember the video store, which there's still one that exists in Bend, Oregon, blockbuster actually means highly successful, widely popular, often big budget production movie or, from a book and is designed for mass appeal. But did you know that it originated from a World War II era term?
No, I didn't. I just know that this was the first summer blockbuster film in history. Like it hit
Yeah.
all the numbers.
So it originating from a World War II era bomb, it now signifies a major entertainment hit. The term blockbuster was used during the war to describe bombs capable of destroying a city block, such as in the British Royal Air Force deployed devastating blockbuster bombs to German cities. So that's the history behind that, which is
Wow.
kind of gruesome and a little morbid, right? And especially
Yeah,
with everything going on.
right now.
But last year it was like Jaws everywhere because it was the 50th anniversary, and I happened to be watching another movie. I want to say Superman, and I saw that Jaws was coming in IMAX, and Ronnie was very excited to get in on that action. In fact, if you are a Patreon member, you would have seen our little snippets from our day at the movies already.
Yeah, it was so fun. And we tried to dress in the vibe of it. I actually wore a retro I guess like tennis kind of shorts and tank top outfit. So it's totally polyester in August in Southern California. It was kind of hot. But I wore that. Samantha wore her jean jacket that she customed out with like all their Coast Guard stuff. And then Jaden dressed as Quint, even though he did a Chief Brody reenactment while we went to lunch, and it was really cool. So you guys can see that stuff on our Patreon. The other thing I was going to say that was so cool about this film was that you and Mom actually read the book, and it was so wild to listen to your guys' book review and then know that it actually didn't line up. They went a different direction with the film. So do you want to talk a little bit about that, sis? And you guys can actually go to our Instagram at Frolicking Chronicles and watch that review.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I kind of had a little glitch there. So the what were you saying? The book didn't line up with the movie? No surprise there.
Yeah, I was basically saying how you and Mom did a book review, and you guys that our followers can and our subs can go to Instagram at Frolicking Chronicles and watch the book review that you and Mom did. And do you want to just talk
Yeah.
about that just a little bit, like because it is exciting when a book goes to movie, and we were just talking about the book club book last night on Instagram, about a different book that's going to film, and how there is that flexibility and how to make it just a little bit different. So that might become a blockbuster. I mean, it's no wonder it became a blockbuster hit because they did made the right decisions for the film.
Well, you were talking already to the fact that it was significant in that the jump scares really got people. And if you go to our playlist on Jaws, you will see some of the where we get our facts from. And there is this one basically that in the movie with part of the script was rewritten because in Australia there was a couple that were shark experts and they were put in charge of filming some real shark footage to be included for the Hollywood version. So they had built this small shark cage and got a small diver so that it would make the sharks in the ocean look bigger. Well, just so happened that a real shark attacked the cage and destroyed it. And the crew was horrified because they thought the diver was already in the cage, but lucky he wasn't in the cage. And so the footage, once it was sent to Hollywood and Spielberg, was so incredible to have a real shark on film attacking the cage that they decided to keep Hooper alive, or Hopper is Hooper, right? Alive, versus him being killed off in the book, which, spoiler, in the book, he has had an affair with the chief's wife. So the chief is not about saving this dude. He's also um,
I don't like
not,
that. I don't like that at
yes.
all.
Well, he was younger. He was like the wife's childhood like boyfriend's little brother. It was really
Oh,
strange.
that's kind of layered.
But also he was very attractive in the book. So no
Okay, Richard
offense
Dreyfuss.
to Richard Dreyfuss, was not, he was casted as a marine biologist. I think if you look at a normal marine biologist, they casted that well for the movie. But in the book, it was like, Chris Hemsworth, or, just some
Yeah,
super
yeah, yeah,
handsome
yeah.
like character.
How
But yeah,
interesting.
so there's a lot of weird fun. I think it's like Hollywood Weird Facts or something like that is where I found that information. And I just think it was so fascinating because sometimes, you know, there are things in the book that I really didn't love, and there's things that made the movie just so much more spectacular. And for instance, the mafia was what pushed the beach to be opened rather than the tourism in a town, which I think the tourism was better fit for the movie. And, you know,
Agreed.
that was kind of, but maybe in the 70s, the mafia may have had a big influence along the East Coast, right? So there was that. So there were some significant differences, but
Like
for a
I
summer
totally
blockbuster,
love the relationship of the wife and Chief Brody in the
yeah.
film, and I just felt that their relationship was so endearing, and they really had each other, and that lacks a lot in relationships. So I almost wonder if the book, like, was Chief Brody a likable character in the book?
Well, no.
See?
I mean, it's not,
I like
it's
that
a
he was
yes,
likable in the
no.
film.
So, because Chief Brody in the book was an alcoholic and he could be mean, and for the wife, this was her superficialness. She came from an affluent family and in some ways married down by marrying the chief of police because he didn't have the resources that she was accustomed to. And so she was la 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 all in love and stuff, but then every now and then she would get glimpses of her old affluent life. And so she struggled there, and so that also led to the affair. And and there were some scenes that were, if you were married to an alcoholic that had a high pressure job as chief of police for a small island, I mean, those things would,
Look, if any of our, subs are, spouses of a law enforcement, I'm sure they have plenty of stories on how those relationships can be. Our mom uh was a cop in Detroit when we were very little, and then you add she worked for, a police department here in Southern California for a little bit, and I think I think it can be very tough being married to law enforcement
law enforcement, yeah, it's
for
sensitive.
various reasons.
So that was quite different in the book. But also I want to say that what was interesting, and this was from Weird Hollywood Movie Facts YouTube, is that in the filming of this wonderful summer blockbuster, they actually used real alcohol, real fear, and real blood to create this
Did
blockbuster
they
film.
really use real blood?
Well, this might be sensationalizing a couple things, but there were some incidents on set that happened and reflected into injury that just kept on filming. For instance, Chief Brody, the actor, I forget his name, actually got hurt, and the injury should have been enough for them to stop filming and him to later find out he probably could have used 8 stitches.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
but they did not stop filming. They kept the cameras rolling. And so later, he ends up probably with the scar and he says, you know what? For the effect, if it made sense for the movie and was a hit, I'm fine with it.
Wow. So you're saying Chief Brody, and I'm looking up his name now, is Roy Scheider,
Yes.
Scheider. Of course, the big name was Robert Shaw, which the gentleman who played Quint was their big draw for the actual, getting people to the cinema. Um, wow. I had no
Yeah.
idea. I just watched a little bit of the back or behind the scenes thing and how they got, the practical effects, if you will. And one of the more important ones to Steven Spielberg was making the opening scene shark attack look really real. And apparently, like, he was under the water with an actual a boat anchor to like pull her down and tug her down. And so like I would have never guessed that. I mean, it made her job a little easier, I think, flopping about. But yeah, did you learn anything about that part of it or
Just said the way I thought it was smartly that she had these special pants on and shorts that helped her whenever she got tugged on from underneath, it would cue her to wave her hands in the air and really kind of flip and flop as being attacked. But also when I talk about that real fear, she had to reshoot, and she was cold and she was miserable, and so that anguish in her face was real just from
yeah.
getting those shots of being in the Atlantic Ocean.
Mm.
It's, which as a backdrop seemed like a great idea, but filming wasn't so spectacular, you
Yeah,
know?
and you know what's interesting too about that is that I'm having flashbacks to Titanic and like how James Cameron like really kept that water really icy cold. So Leo and Kate like had those real expressions.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, interesting, wow. Yeah, or even in Die Hard when Alan is, he's the bad guy and he falls off there, they push him off the building and they actually had him fall, to get those real, moments in the
Yeah.
face.
Yeah, and Bruce the shark. Okay, so there we have an interesting thing. Steven Spielberg ended up naming him after his lawyer, which I thought was
Oh
a
my
funny thing.
gosh.
Yeah, Bruce Raymer. And Bruce gave them so much trouble, and he actually malfunctioned quite a bit. The sea salt, the salt water was not good for the hydraulic system. One of the crew members was checking it out and got trapped in it and suffered broken bones and,
Yeah, and I heard
some
that
cuts and bruises.
the other reason why they also I think ended up switching from hydraulics to possibly something else because they didn't want to have a hydraulic leak in the ocean, which I thought was really
Ooh.
cool. I also did come across that the shark really only had 4 minutes in the movie because of those malfunctions. That wasn't their original intention. So then they end up leaning into these barrels, which we know are iconic, and part of the whole Universal tram ride experience in Hollywood, or maybe Universal as well. And I just thought, wow, what a great use. Like whoever thought of that, and it might have been Steven Spielberg himself, but to use those yellow barrels to give the idea that the shark is there, but
Yes, and
really
also in real life, they were helping to guide the sharks, the shark pattern, trajectory in the filming. So I thought that was really also clever
clever.
use. Also, let's talk about the orca being named after orca whales because they are a predator to sharks.
Love
So
it.
there was tidbits like that I thought were really fantastic. Um,
Did your kids ever participate in kindergarten, a thing called Kindy 500? So it's like the
I
Indy
don't
500.
I
And
don't think so.
they, like basically the kids like get to create, and it's usually a parent project, right? And the reason why I'm saying it is because like, let's say Jaden built a race car and Logan, I forget if Logan did an ice cream truck. I don't know, something like that. But there was a parent years after my kids were gone from the elementary school, and or maybe it was a year Betty was in second grade, and a kinder freaking had the orca. It was the best Kindy 500 based off Indy 500. And we had NASCAR here where I live in Southern California. It was so cool. I was like, oh, this person is like, I could hang
They
with
were
this
all
parent.
in.
Yeah, it was
They were
really
all
cool.
in.
It was really
Oh,
cool.
one thing I would like to do, and I don't know if it will let me do it on here. If I could share something. Let me see more. I wanted to, yeah, I don't know. I wanted to maybe share my screen so I could get how do you do that?
I have no idea, sis. We'll have to do a
um
test run of that.
yeah. Anyways, well, I'm going to talk about the cocktail really quick. So
Okay, cool.
when we were at IMAX in Irvine, that's where we went. So in Southern California, we are fortunate to have two IMAX theaters. One is located in Ontario, the Inland Empire, and the other one here in Orange County, which is Irvine Spectrum. So they were serving something along the lines of a Blue Long Island cocktail. And although Ronnie and I aren't partaking in any booze right now, this is a lovely drink for this nice warm weather. And that consists of a half-ounce vodka, a half-ounce tequila, half-ounce white rum, half-ounce gin, and blue carousel with 1 ounce lemon juice and 3 to 5 ounces of ginger ale because you're going to use that as a topper, and a splash of grenadine. And then if you can get your hands on some gummy sharks, that is the perfect
That
garnish.
was so
And what you
fun.
will, yeah, and what you'll do is mix all of your liquors together. So you mix the vodka, tequila, white rum, gin, and blue curacao, and and the lemon juice in a shaker. Pour over ice in a highball glass, and then you're going to top that with the ginger ale. Then float the grenadine because that's important, guys. That's to get that bloody I've been attacked effect in your cocktail, and then you'll garnish it with that gummy shark candy. And I just think that is such a fun. And our cocktails actually are on our Patreon. I do have a little cocktail where I share these little graphics that I make with the recipe.
Yeah, and I think you can
And
find
our
some
website.
of, I was gonna say on our website, there's a cocktail page, which is really cool. Yeah, let's talk about the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures and
Okay,
how
so
cool that was.
So I want to say that, listen, Jaws is still so spectacular and so popular that right now, playing at the Laguna Playhouse, it ran from March 4th to March 22nd, is The Shark is Broken. And the characters are all like Chief Brody, Hooper, and Quint. And then if you watched all of the 10 Best Picture nominees, The Secret Agent even references Jaws because it's a period piece in the 70s, and Jaws has kind of, I don't want to say significant role, but it definitely plays a part in the storyline. So those are two things. As of last October 2025, the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures did a Jaws exhibit. And Ronnie, you said it runs until July 26, 26. So runs till
Yes,
this summer.
this summer. So
Okay.
it'd be great if there was a small release again of the film around 4th of July, but I would definitely say like rent it or, buy the physical media and then,
Mm-hmm.
go check out the actual exhibit or see the exhibit first. And we had a great time at the exhibit. I wanted to say when mom saw this movie in the 70s, so she was pregnant with us. So the movie came out in July of 1974, and we were born in October of 74. And mom went and saw it at the drive-in. Guys, you remember the drive-ins and, a paved parking lot, if you will, speaker box that hangs on your car window. And mom had her arm out. And this movie was so effective that she brought her arm in. but if you think about it logically, like the psychosis that builds, it's the movie still holds up. And I'm tapping back into what you said about these like local plays, or its relevance that are still being referenced in modern day script writing. People know about Jaws. They know about Jaws. And if you go to the Academy Museum, make sure you ask how long their gift shop is open too, because they have some really great merch. Besides a really brilliant, immersive experience. I mean, immediately when you walk in, you're greeted with let's start outside. They have remade the welcome to Amity, sign, and it's like welcome to the Academy Museum, but it's all in the same details. Sorry, my cat is like over here. Her
And I
whiskers
was
just
like, is
came.
that
It's
a
and it's not paranormal. It's not
filter?
supernatural. It's just my cat's whiskers. So that said, then you go inside and you're greeted in this darkness of the Jaws, lettering, and the composer, the score and everything. And then, as it goes in deeper, delves in deeper, you see the chalkboard, and you see the fossilized, shark teeth, and just one layer
The
after
photo ops
the photo ops
alone
were
were so much
incredible.
fun.
And
And
for
we have
free, we were told you can sign up for a guided tour and be in a
yes,
group where they will actually walk you through the exhibit and stop and chit chat and go in a little bit more depth.
which is which isn't free to go to the museum. The museum costs $25 for general admission, but once you're in, that is one of the perks that they offer. And that looked like that was pretty amazing in
It was
my
full.
opinion. It was full, and just overhearing the chatter, it was pretty cool. We just were on a shorter length of time that we had to spend in the exhibit. And we were after getting
Yeah.
a hold of all the photo props and experiencing the immersiveness.
And
But
getting to the
the
gift shop, which by the way, like I got this cool, t-shirt. I was trying to rock a 70s scarf here, but
I almost put on a scarf, but I was worried about the heat. But what I was going to say is, because this is going to line you up for what you're going to share with us on camera, is the merch. The
mhm.
merch that was released for Jaws in 1975, everything from what appeared to be like bowling bag purses to
Weekend
drink
bags, weekenders.
stewers, you know, posters and clothing, and there was just so much merch before. Merch is, we like merch.
We like merch.
We love good merch. uh I didn't think that that was such a prevalent thing back then, but it really was.
I know when we were getting ready to do this episode, I'm like, man, I wish I would have bought one of those Jaws cups, like the mugs or whatever, just like get myself in the zone. And then I found this mug in my cabinet, which is actually J for Jaden, but I was like,
That's
that'll
really
still work for today.
awesome.
But they did fun things like quince ornaments, you know. Let's see if I can get those in there. That's kind
Yeah,
of
that's
hard with the
awesome.
lighting. There
Yeah,
you go.
that's
That
good.
looks
That's
good.
good.
Then they had, which my cat already got to, so I'll have to fix this. But I bought Jaden this beanie. And as I get
Why does
closer,
that look so big?
I think it's
Is
just the
that lined?
camera.
Oh, okay.
I think it's just the
That's really
camera.
cool. That
But it
looks really
basically
cool.
says Captain Quint's Jaws Shark Tours. So I thought that was kind of cool. It does look big, but no, I think it's just
Yeah.
anyway. But I picked a tan color. They also had a darker one, like black, I think was the other option. And
I
then
ended up with the sock candy socks, which I can't wait to wear when it's not this hot weather, especially with our
yeah, we're
cool
rocking
little
sandals
Mary
right
Jane
now.
bands. Yeah. And for our Patreon, we will be doing a giveaway where we have a koozie, a magnet, and some of the sour candy Jaws tins. So that will be coming if you sign up with our Patreon. For the $5 tier, everybody will be entered, $5 or above, will be entered into this giveaway, because that's what we like to do. We know everybody cannot make it to Los Angeles, California like we can. And so sometimes we'll pick up these souvenir goodies so that way we can do a giveaway on our Patreon.
Also, the vlog that we did at the Academy, because we know
Yeah.
people can't come to the museum here in SoCal. And that said, yeah, check out our Patreon. The vlog, like that kind of cool content gets released to the higher tiers first, and then after about a week or two, we'll release it to the $5 podcast tier, and we think it's worth it. So,
Yeah. So
yeah.
then I want to say too, though,
I'm just gonna plug in my battery right now so my camera doesn't die.
yeah. So guys, it's hilarious to think about, this shark movie and it being a blockbuster for the summer. It scared people from even just putting their arms out the window like our mom. And there was one jump scare that I heard about that I don't remember them really showing at the museum. But Steven Spielberg spent $3,000 out of his own pocket to reshoot this shot because he wanted, hello, probably James Wan inspiration, was Steven Spielberg. The scene where it's like the man's head underwater and
Yeah, I think they had the man's head at the
okay,
exhibit. I
so
think so.
so they reshot that in his friend's pool where he dumped milk to make it murky looking, and yeah, paid out of his own pocket because they were already like at budget or they couldn't get any more money from Universal. This movie they needed to produce, and he got that shot, and that shot is one of the biggest scares in the movie, and what got a lot of people like, oh my God, you gotta Jaws, horrifying. And, when this movie was being filmed because of all the complications, Steven Spielberg thought it might be the end of his career.
He
He
really did.
actually wrote that in his journal.
And I mean, really fantastic to learn. I believe he was 27 years old.
Oh my
So
gosh.
like that
That's
he did this before he's even 30. I mean, it's
yeah.
it's kind of crazy and wild and amazing, all the things.
Now, the one thing that both Steven Spielberg regretted and also Peter Buckley was that from the book and also the movie was the negative impact on sharks, that everybody got this quite the fear of sharks. And that negatively impacted the shark population because then people went out and started hunting sharks. And because Ronnie and I both have
Mhm.
Aquarium of the Pacific uh, experience, and one of our jobs was to interpret at the education exhibit of the Shark Lagoon, I want to tell you that sharks are really important to our ecosystem. And that's why when we're over consuming and the trash is full, the oceans are full of trash the size of Texas, it's a problem. And, shark finning is a problem. So we need to be cognizant of sustainable fishing and we need to protect sharks because really your chances of getting bit by a shark, you're more likely to get struck by lightning.
Girl, I'm so
So,
glad, sis, that you're mentioning this right now because let me tell you, because we were in the Coast Guard, we got to do things like swim call. And our longtime followers will know I actually had the experience of jumping into the Mariana Trench. And I talk about
that's
it in one of the books. Girl,
incredible.
I'm like,
Golden shellback.
had I really been thinking about all this, I don't know that I would have
Had
done
you
it.
read Into the Drowning Deep?
Right. And but one of my best experiences, even though I am actually deathly afraid of sharks, was we were in the South Pacific and we were near the island of Guam. And our captain decided to anchor off of a small little cluster of islands. And we were allowed to swim from the ship to the little island and quote explore. And okay, guys, let me tell you, like some of the best snorkeling I've ever done in my life, the most vibrant clamshells, sea slugs, all kinds of stuff. But let me tell you what else was in the distance as I'm swimming through the ocean, trying to get to shore and brave myself up were reef sharks, black tip reef sharks. And you could see, but they didn't bother us. And the captain said, I mean, can you imagine the disaster if we all got attacked?
No,
So,
release from duty.
but the psychosis in my brain was like, this doesn't feel good, and then I would just like focus. And somewhere I probably have the actual prints of that because I got an underwater camera or something like that. But those were some of the experiences that I did get to have while serving in the US Coast Guard. And Gosh, I haven't
So
thought about that in
adventurous, and that
forever.
is just, I'm so glad you brought that up because people don't know that we have such a vast backstory. And we were just inland empire, living off the 10 freeway type kids our whole childhood. So to be out in the Mariana Trench and swimming and seeing black tip
In the South
reef sharks
Pacific.
below you, yeah, that's so amazing.
Yeah,
What a
and
cool
and
adventure.
then like local, villagers, coming out in their wood canoes to sell us like big conch shells and like that whole thing was happening, They like watched out for those military people to come and like drop their coin, on these quote
Yeah.
souvenirs. But yeah, I will never ever forget to, forget that moment. Well, apparently I forgot it for a little while, but then was re-reminded by this episode that I actually swam
Yeah.
above sharks. So since it says you're
That's
trying to
so
share
awesome.
something, I hit allow. So
Yeah.
hopefully it's gonna work for you to share.
I just want to see if this will
It'll
work really
work.
quick.
I hit allow,
Okay,
so
over my
hopefully.
shoulder. If not, guys, I'm very sorry. I just want to show you guys my shark. Can you
Oh
see that?
yes, there you go. Make it bigger.
Yay!
Can you make it bigger
Okay, I
or
don't know. Let's see. Did that work?
yes, that's
Yay!
perfect. Hey, look
So just
at
really quickly, because I'm like, we're kind of at the tail end. Now it won't be so disruptive.
I love that. Oh my
Yeah, so
gosh,
here
that's
you
so
guys go,
cool.
our listeners. If you're listening in your on your headphones, you can't see it right now, but I was successful at sharing my Blue Long Island cocktail PDF document here. And so it isn't that fun? I mean,
And
it's really
it's a
cool.
great graphic. And if you guys visit us on Instagram, I think we have a picture of it being
Yeah,
made, or
you
there's a
probably
reel of it
do.
actually being made. And once again, the Jaws exhibit runs Thursday through Sundays. I'm sorry, do not quote me on Thursdays through Sundays. Join museum educators Thursday through Sundays for 30-minute guided tours of the Jaws exhibition. It runs from October 2nd, 2025. So it's been up for a little while, through July 26th of 2026. So,
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, I ended up turning my general admission tickets for Ronnie and I into an actual membership because they got me on an email and I happened to be in my email and saw it was like my last day to redeem. But now I get a discount, so now I can hopefully go back and get that
I
book.
love that. And there's so
If I
much
can't price it out, and it's just to support the arts. It's right next to LACMA Museum, and I just feel like these are great places to escape. And if you can budget for that type of a membership, or just have go for a day, it's really
it's worth
spectacular.
it. And guys, our Patreon people are also going to get a little snippet of our time eating at Fanny's. And the food was great. It's a little pricey, but you're, as Jaden says, it's LA prices.
You
um,
have to get used to the LA prices, and right now everything is up. But I will say, to have the edible flowers in my salad, and
I got the spicy
a
vodka,
house house
pasta.
made ginger ale. I want to learn how to make that at home because I'm having to be more decisive of when I want to have alcoholic cocktails. And sometimes I just don't want the brain fog, or, to be dragging the next day. And so some of these kind of mocktails or homemade drinks, I'm all about it.
I loved it. I loved our time at I just loved the whole experience of it. Like that we got to eat lunch first. The restaurant was really stylish. We were dressed in our, theme colors for Jaws. So the deep wine burgundy reds and blues. And then we were wearing wedges, which, was our little ode to the 70s as well. And then went and had the best time at the Academy. And like I said, we were focused on Jaws, but there's so much more to see at the Academy Museum, which
Yeah,
was
right
great.
now they had a Studio Ghibli, like Ponyo, exhibit that looked really cool. They had costuming. They had the
The
wicked
outfits
pink
from
dress and the witch
Moulin
dress.
Rouge was
Well,
great.
they were both witches actually. They had a Barbie, some costuming from Barbie. They had old snippets and clips from previous Oscar shows.
Wins.
The Oscar experience. My
Yes.
gosh, we
The
paid an extra
Godfather
ten
too.
dollars each to hold Oscar, which is eight and
Eight
a
and
half
a half
pounds.
pounds.
That was really cool. Although So we liked the footage somewhat that they made, but we were able to also film our own footage, which I think Ronnie preferred. So it was kind of funny to, if you're on our Instagram, to see what they filmed without any speech, but you're pretending to talk, and then to hear what I actually said. I thought that was hilarious, you know. So do have a little speech prepared because it does help you kind of get through like that moment. Ronnie was the tester, so she was the first go. So I had a little bit of an example before I went and had my turn.
Right. And if Tamantha has time, she can put the vlog footage of that experience like on because we were actually filming ourselves on that horizontal. She let us film, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah. And then I don't know. I just think like as you're, you know, making your spring break plans, a lot of people will be going on spring break starting next week. And summer plans, if you're in Southern California area, I think definitely make a day of, or at least, 4 hours to go to the museum.
I agree. Support the arts, guys.
Yes.
And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, comment. We're
Hit
here
the
for it.
notification bell. We
Yes.
appreciate it. We need to get to 1,000 subscribers. Not just so that we can monetize, but just so we can build the momentum here.
Yeah, we love it. We love it. And we love you guys. Thank you guys so much. I guess
All
that's
right.
it.
Woohoo!
Cheers.
Stay cool out there.
Well, and do you fetch my sleigh? Hello, and do you ladies of Spain? Show me the way to go home. I'm tired and I wanna go to bed. I had a little drink about an hour